Archfiend videos in 5 days. My God, it must be Christmas. No, it's Halloween. Happy Halloween, trick or treat. Anyways, today I want to talk about the viability and the chances of a third party candidate getting to be elected or even just getting a decent representation into the President of the United States. Now, I said yesterday how one of the things that really hampers this is the Electoral College. And I didn't go into details what happens when a candidate doesn't get the electoral votes because I wanted to save it for this video. So the system, believe it or not, is designed to allow a third-party candidate to come in, take away enough electoral votes from the other two candidates, and we still get a president out of a general election. So a lot of people think that the system has been this two-party system. It's been that way for over 200 years, where it actually hasn't. There's been three times in America's past. Granted, you have to go back to at least the 1800s for this, but there's been three times where a president didn't get the enough of the electoral votes to qualify him for the office of for winning the office of the president. And it's a very interesting process that happens, and one that I think a lot of people don't know. I'm going to stick specifically with one election here when, what exact year was it? Anyways, Andrew Jackson was running for president. Look up the exact year, I don't have it off the top of my head. Andrew Jackson was running for president. Of the candidates, he got the most electoral votes, and he won the popular vote. So you figure, you got those two things locked up. You deserve to be president, right? You got more electoral votes and you got more physical votes from the actual people. So what happened in this election, however, was that there were four candidates total, of which that pulled in electoral votes and popular votes, that divided the electoral pool party that Andrew Jackson couldn't get that threshold number met. So what then happens is called a contingency vote is taken place, which is established by the 12th Amendment, where you don't have the person that just gets the popular vote win, that just gets the most electoral votes wins. Congress goes on to vote for in blocks, in that the congressmen from each state get together, from that state get together, that state, until you get all the states, and they select one vote for President of the United States. So all the congressmen get together, and this is the way that it's still put in place to this day. So every congressman from your state, or congresswoman, to be fair, to get together in your state, and they cast one vote for President of the United States. The Senate, all your members of Senate have one singular vote, and they select the Vice President of the United States. So you could have a situation where you have Trump and Vice President Harris. Think about that. Anyway, you can't, because there's no third-party candidate that's going to take away any electoral votes. Someone's going to get all the electoral votes in the upcoming election. But I'm just saying that possibility is there. So going back to that election where Andrew Jackson got more electoral votes than anyone else and a more popular vote than anyone else, Congress selected as president John Quincy Adams. So Andrew Jackson's over here going, what the hell is this shit? Well, more people that sided on the aisle of John Quincy Adams were serving in Congress than you, Andrew Jackson. Sorry. Now, if that isn't democracy, I don't know what is. So what I'm getting at here is the viability of third-party candidates getting elected in office is just not going to happen. You have to have complete deconstruction of the Constitution, because what's set in place right now is ridiculous. And one other interesting note about a contingency election, when there's not enough the electoral threshold isn't met by one candidate, the election is held off till the following year, and the new Congress, whatever the new Congress and this was established in the 1930s, 1933, I believe, to be exact. The new Congress votes on who gets selected for the President of the United States. Like, did any of you out there know that is actually how it works? I mean, I've got a bachelor's degree in political science, and even I vaguely remembered what the steps were. I had to actually look it up just to be sure. And that is nuts. Like, that is nuts. Like, that's what our democracy has. Like, you would think that if no one had met that threshold, they're just going to hold another election, right? Well, yeah, they do. They just have the Congress, the people in Congress vote for your president. Like, how nuts is that? But anyway, this just goes to show if there was a serious push by any third-party candidate, you best believe that the Republicans and Democrats would rush. They would put so much more money and resources behind whoever was running for Congress, because they would want to pack Congress with so many people on their side of the aisle. And that's why, I don't know if you guys were expecting me to give you one simple way of how a third-party viability is in this country that is going to be like, yeah, there is a chance for a third-party candidate. It's like, no, the second any third-party candidate gets any serious steam or is any serious threat to take away any sort of votes in the electoral college, the Democrats and Republicans would then put so much pressure and emphasis on whoever is running for Congress, and they would pack Congress. So really, there's only, I see, two options. There's only two options that allows for a third-party candidate to stand any chance in hell. Number one is you get third-party candidates elected at the lower levels. You get them elected as your state treasurer, as your governors, as your state senators, as your any state representation, anything at all. Any office seat that you possibly can get these third-party people in, you get them in there. You want the Green Party to stand a chance of having a representative take away electoral votes in the president race? Get them into Congress. Get them into Senate. Get them into governor seats. Like, that's really one of the key ways to do it. Because, again, if that vote goes to Congress, you're just going to get what the majority seat in Congress is selected as president, which often isn't the same seat of the same side of the aisle as the person that got elected. So it's a very interesting process. And that's if you want things to stay the way they are. Okay, you want the Constitution to stay as it is. What's the likelihood of a third-party candidate? You got to win all the lower seats. You got to at least win like a third of the seats, honestly. Anyway, another way, number two, is complete revolution, civil war, storm Congress, do whatever. Force a change of the Constitution. And I'm talking about something that would take a lot more than sitting on street corners holding up signs or doing sit-ins, doing anything like that. Like, you're talking about the Constitution would have to be completely overhauled. The powers that be would have to be taken out. And to be fair, I think this would be the stupidest way, because if you went toe-to-toe with the government would kick your ass. Like, they would kick your ass. And that's just reality. So, it's more that I'm just frustrated with how the system is, in that you have two parties, and someone brought up this point. I was looking at some comments before I made this video here. Someone brought up the point of, like, it's ridiculous because the people on both sides of the aisle are same, and that goes for not just who's elected into office, but who's voting. Because when you look at the class of people, it's not like poor Republicans like, no, we don't want a strong welfare system like poor Democrats do. We want a terrible welfare system. We don't want housing, any sort of housing equity help or anything like that. No, we're Republicans. We're too good for that. No, rich Democrats don't want to get taxed as much as rich Republicans don't want to get taxed. When you look at so many things, the class similarities about what you want from your government are identical, are identical. There's a few key issues that divide us, and it's these divided issues that one side or the other has sided with. Republicans, like I said numerous times, became the party of we're against abortion, where the Democrats said we're for abortion. And that's just something where it's a 50-50 issue. You're either for it or against it. You're not like, well, I'm kind of for abortion. Like, that doesn't exist. So there's so much division, and just the mentality of this country and the world is so dead set on there has to be a heads when there's a tail. There has to be a yin and a yang, a good and a bad, a blue and a red. Like people just have that so entrenched in their minds, and it's gone forth so long that it's Republican versus Democrat, that it would take such a colossal shift in mindset just to shake people from that. And there's such an inherent, like how I said, one of the key things to do for third parties is get those third parties in on the lower ticket seats. The problem with that is there is such an inherent advantage with the Republican and Democrats, because even in some voting booths, they have a button where you say you push to vote all Democrat, push to vote all Republican. So it just goes, and Stacey Longbottom at the bottom running for some county seat, whatever, some like Secretary of Treasury in your city or something like that. She's registered as a Democrat. Do you think everyone that hits that vote everything blue, do you think they know anything about Stacey Longbottom? Do you think they could even recognize her in a crowd or anything like that? Like, no. There's such an inherent advantage because people say, I vote all Republican, I vote all Democrat, and that goes down the line all the way to the bottom rung seats. And I know some lower seats in some states, they don't have the candidate's party listed, which is, I think, is in a perfect world that'd be great to not have a party associated to anyone. Like, imagine people having to actually just vote for a human being and not the party. That'd be crazy. But that's a whole different other topic if the party system just didn't exist and how things would work from that. But that's a whole different other topic and discussion. So yeah, and that's the thing, like it's just such a severe advantage for anyone that is affiliated as Republican or Democrat. And that's not saying there hasn't been success, because from Senate on down, there have been third party candidates that have won seats. So to be fair, it has happened despite the advantage. But the problem is to fully do quote unquote damage and get a lot of people in third party seats, it's going to take a lot of work and do a lot of mindset undoing. So I hope you guys weren't expecting this video to be like, wow, that is a great way. It's going to be, relatively easy to get a third party candidate for president of the United States that, gets fair time and meets that 5% vote threshold, which, if you don't know what the 5% vote threshold is if a candidate gets an election, their party that they represent gets 5% of the national vote in an election, you get federal funding. You get significant federal funding for your future campaign. So that is a significant thing to hit. But even getting just 5% of the vote is so hard. It's so hard because you got to undo, like I said, you got to undo the minds of so many people that are dead set on blue versus red, good versus evil. My side is right, your side is wrong. And that's the most laughable thing about it. Like, if you look at some of the most just overarching issues, all the candidates are for the same thing. Everyone's for free speech. Everyone's for freedom of the press. Everyone wants to tax you. Like let's be real. Everyone in Congress, in Senate, president wants to tax you. No one's saying no, let's do away with taxes. If you do, you're too radical and you don't stand a chance. So everyone that's in the office right now, they want to tax you. Some may want to lower, some may want to raise, but at the end of the day, they all want to take your tax money. So it's those general issues that affect our everyday lives, where something like abortion, like how many of us does that really affect? And that's where a lot of people draw the line between what party they're picking on. And it's they work up this whole class warfare system, this issue warfare system, and it divides the country. It does a masterful job at it. I'll give it that much credit. But it divides us as human beings. We're not human beings. We're classes going against each other. We're Democrats and Republicans going against each other. And it is so deeply entrenched that it has to take so much effort and understanding of the individuals to undo it. And sadly, I don't think it can be done. So, while I would love a world with a third party representative, a third choice, something besides Coke and Pepsi, you know, it's just so hard to do. So hard to do as far as for the election of the president of the United States. So, anyways, what do you guys think? Do you think there's going to be a day and age, even in my lifetime, that I'm going to see a third party candidate come about and actually do some damage in a presidential election, get beyond 5% of the vote, you know, look like the country's going to some sort of promised land beyond just the land ruled by Democrats and Republicans? Anyways, just my 2 cents on it. I hope you guys have enjoyed these videos here. I'm gonna make one more video after the election on Tuesday. And, I might make two if there's like complete chaos and Trump tells his people that I'm not leaving and anything like that. I might make a follow-up video as far as that goes, but I'm also going to make a video telling you who I voted for and why I voted them and what my logic into how I voted this year, what came about, and how I carried it out. So, anyways, again, thank you for all the discussion you guys have had with me in the comments. I'm trying to get to as many comments as possible and whatnot. Anyways, happy Halloween, stay safe, and I will see you sometime after Tuesday, potentially 2 more times. And I might even do a live video for the Eagles game on Sunday night. Maybe kind of, sort of, I don't know. We'll find out. That is all.